Hey, spooky people, it's your best friend Kenny, and we are back continuing on with the ultimate paranormal iceberg chart by Reddit user ManofNope. This is tier 5 of the chart. As you know, the deeper and deeper you go into a iceberg chart, the more obscure, the more disturbing these stories get. So we are on tier 5. So we're going to be talking about some pretty obscure and disturbing stuff. Let's get to it. Let's get spooky. Make sure you've subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you like, share, and comment to help me out in the algorithm, and hit the hype button. The Diplomat Hotel, which is now known as the Dominican Heritage Hill and Nature Park in Pascualita City, Philippines, is infamous for its paranormal reputation that is deeply rooted in the history of war crimes and death. Originally built in 1913 as a vacation house and seminary for Dominican friars, the building was converted into a refugee center during World War II. It was eventually invaded by the Japanese Imperial Army and used as the headquarters for the Japanese secret police. The site became a place of torture and execution. Historical lore states that nuns, priests, and refugees were essayed, tortured, and decapitated by Japanese soldiers. In the 1970s, the building was acquired by Tony Agpaoa, a famous psychic surgeon and faith healer who turned it into the Diplomat Hotel. The hotel became a haven for sick patients from Europe and America seeking miracle cures. Many of them died in the hotel rooms, and their spirits are said to linger alongside the war victims. After Agpaoa died of a heart attack in 1987, the hotel ceased operations. It was looted and later damaged by a 1990 earthquake, leaving it as the ruins seen today. Due to its history, visitors and locals have reported specific types of activity for decades. The most famous sightings are of headless priests and nuns roaming the hallways or standing by the windows, believed to be the spirits of those beheaded during the war. The courtyard fountain is rumored to be where the soldiers killed infants and children. Visitors frequently report hearing the disembodied sounds of children playing or crying near it. People have reported hearing banging doors, screams of agony, and the sounds of shackles dragging across the floors. There are local legends of visitors becoming temporarily possessed or feeling sudden crushing heaviness and nausea upon entering certain rooms. The portrait of Samantha Houston is one of the most famous haunted objects in Texas. It's located on the 5th floor of the historic Driscoll Hotel in Austin. The legend claims the painting is inhabited by the spirit of a young girl who died tragically on the property, though the actual history of the artwork is different from the lore. The story goes that Samantha Houston was the 4-year-old daughter of U.S. Senator Temple Lee Houston and the granddaughter of Texas hero Sam Houston. In 1987, when her family was staying at the Driscoll, Samantha was playing on the hotel's massive grand staircase. She was reportedly chasing a ball when she tripped, tumbled down the marble steps, breaking her neck and dying instantly. Grief-stricken, the legend states her spirit attached itself to a painting of a young girl that hung in the hotel. The portrait is called Love Letters, and it depicts a young girl in a period dress holding a bouquet of flowers and a letter. It's widely considered to be haunted. The most common report from the visitors is that if you stare at the girl's face for too long, her expression changes from innocent to angry, distorted, or grinning. Many guests report having sudden nausea, dizziness, or a sensation of heaviness in their chest when standing directly in front of the canvas. Guests on the 5th floor and near the ground staircase frequently report hearing the sound of a ball bouncing or a child giggling when no children are present. While the ghost story is famous, the physical object itself has an origin that partly debunks a myth. The painting is not actually a portrait of Samantha Houston. It's a modern reproduction of a work by British artist Charles Trevor Garland. The girl in the painting was an unknown model. The reproduction was likely installed in the hotel long after Samantha's death, meaning it couldn't have been a memorial commissioned by her father at the time. Despite these facts, the specific corner where the painting hangs remains a focal point for ghost tours, and many guests still refuse to look the girl in the eyes. The paranormal lore surrounding Archduke Franz Ferdinand's Limousine refers to a legend that the car was cursed after being the site of the assassination that ignited World War I. While the car is a real historic artifact and is currently on display in Vienna, the haunting is a mix of urban legend and one of bizarre coincidence. According to the myth, popularized in the 1950s by author Frank Edwards, the car developed a bloodlust after the Archduke and his wife Sophie were shot in the back seat on June 28, 1914. The legend claims that in 12 years following the assassination, the car had 15 different owners and was responsible for 13 deaths before being retired. The alleged victims include General Porcherac, the first owner after the Archduke, who allegedly went insane while owning the car and died in an asylum, an army captain who reportedly killed 2 pedestrians while driving it before swerving into a tree and breaking his own neck, a governor of Yugoslavia who suffered 4 separate accidents in the car, the last of which resulted in the severing of his arm, a Swiss race driver who died after the car threw him over a stone wall during a race in the Dolomites, and the final owner, who was a Romanian garage owner who, while driving to a wedding with his friends, spun out of control. He and all 5 passengers were killed in the crash. The most bizarre and verifiable detail involves the car's license plate. Unlike the stories of the deaths, which most historians have debunked as fiction, the license plate is real and still on the vehicle today. It reads AIII 11 8. Paranormal enthusiasts and historians alike have noted that this can be read as a prediction of the exact date World War I ended. A stands for Armistice 11/11/18, November 11, 1918. Despite the stories, the curse is almost certainly a fabrication. In reality, the card did not circulate through various owners. Shortly after the assassination, it was donated to the Military History Museum in Vienna, where it remained on display for decades. Paranormal activity surrounding Charles Manson's ashes is a modern and bizarre saga involving theft, blood art, and the creation of haunted objects. Unlike older legends, this story is well documented because it all has happened after 2017. The activity is centered around specific portions of the ashes that were taken during his funeral and used to create macabre artifacts. When Charles Manson died in 2017, a legal battle for his remains ensued. His grandson, Jason Freeman, eventually won and held a funeral in 2018. Freeman cremated the body and scattered the ashes in a creek bed in Porterville, California. However, not all the ashes made it into the water. During the scattering ceremony, a man named Tony Miller, who was a friend of Freeman's at the time, reportedly scooped up a handful of the ashes for himself. Miller later had a falling out with Freeman and gave the stolen ashes to Ryan Almighty, a blood artist known for painting with human blood. Ryan Almighty mixed the stolen ashes with his own blood to create a portrait of Manson. He reportedly used the ash mixture to paint Manson's eyes, claiming it would give the piece a soul. Paranormal investigator Zach Bagans purchased the painting for his haunted museum in Las Vegas. The painting is now one of the most feared items in the museum's serial killer room. Visitors and staff report that the eyes of the painting seem to follow them or glow with a distinct energy. People standing near the painting have reported sudden waves of nausea, dizziness, and an overwhelming feeling of anger or aggression. Baggins has stated that the item is creepy as hell and feels charged with dark intelligence distinct from other items in his collection. As if that's not enough, the ashes didn't just stay in paintings. Ryan Almighty also used the ash and ink mixture to tattoo people, effectively turning them into living vessels for the remains of Charles Manson. A man named Patrick Booz had the words Helter Skelter tattooed on his forehead using the ash-infused ink. He claimed he wanted a piece of history to be part of him forever. Booz has not reported any violent poltergeist activity. He has described a heavy, creepy psychological weight to carrying the ashes in his skin, noting that Charles is a part of me now. He probably should have thought of that before getting that tattoo. La Pascualita, or the Corpse Bride, is a disturbingly lifelike mannequin that has stood in the window of a bridal shop in Chihuahua, Mexico for nearly a century. The enduring legend is that she is not a mannequin at all, but the perfectly preserved embalmed corpse of the shop owner's daughter. I did a video doing a full deep dive on La Pascualita, which you should go watch after you watch this video. The legend begins on March 25th, 1930. The shop owner, Pascuala Esparza, placed a new mannequin in the window of her store, La Popular. Locals were immediately struck by the eerie realism and its striking resemblance to Pascuala herself. Pascuala's daughter had died tragically just shortly before the mannequin appeared. The story goes that she was bitten by a black widow spider, and some versions say a scorpion, on her wedding day and died in her dress. Unable to let go, the legend claims the mother had her daughter's body embalmed and placed in the window so that she could be a bride forever. While her real name is lost to history, in most versions of the tale, the locals have dubbed her La Pascualita, or Little Pascuala. The mannequin is famous because it does not look like a standard wax or plastic figure. It has details that are typically only found on living or once living humans. The hands are most often cited as proof. The hands have incredibly detailed wrinkles, unique fingerprints, and chipped fingernails that look biological rather than sculpted. There are visible blue varicose veins on her legs and hands. Her skin is said to have a texture and a poor detail that was considered impossible for 1930s wax manufacturing. Over the last 90 plus years, La Popular has become a hotspot for paranormal tourism. The most common report is that her eyes follow you as you walk around the store. Shop workers and passers-by claim she shifts positions at night, or that her facial expression changes slightly from day to day. A local legend claims that a French magician fell in love with her and would visit the window at night using magic to bring her to life so that they could dance in the moonlight. That's a little creepy to me. While the story is an incredible story, modern experts generally debunk the idea that it is a corpse. Embalming is not permanent. To keep a body looking that fresh for 90 years, especially one sitting in a hot, sun-drenched window, would require massive maintenance and climate control like Vladimir Lenin's body. And this small bridal shop does not have that. It's more likely the mannequin was a high-quality wax figure imported from France, possibly cast directly from a living model, which would explain the fingerprints and anatomical flaws like varicose veins. John Hucker's Polaroid photos, this is often called the Ghost Rider case, and it refers to one of the most visually specific and bizarre haunting cases of the 1990s. Unlike traditional hauntings where activity is heard or felt This entity communicated by writing answers directly onto Polaroid film. In August 1992, John Hucker and John Metkowski were living in a hillside home in Glassell Park, which is in northeast Los Angeles. After noticing strange occurrences, they jokingly asked, "Is anyone here?" and snapped a photo with a Polaroid camera. The photo developed with white ectoplasmic-like swirls that clearly spelled the word yes. Over the next several years, the roommates took thousands of photos. They would ask a question, snap a picture of a blank wall or an empty room, and the photo would develop with a written answer in English or in Latin. The spirit eventually identified itself as Wright. Wright claimed to be the protective spirit of the place. The messages ranged from simple answers to cryptic phrases. For example, they would ask, "Are you a good ghost?" and the answer would be "friend." They would ask, "Why are you here?" among other things, a murder victim. They would ask, "Will you show yourself?" and it would say, "When you are ready." Aside from text, the photos sometimes contain images of shadowy figures, faces, or strange energy vortexes hovering over residences. The case became famous after being featured on the hit TV show Sightings in 1993. It stands out because it was difficult to debunk in real time. Investigators visited the house. They brought their own sealed Polaroid film and their own cameras to rule out tampering. Even using the investigators' equipment, the photos allegedly still developed with messages on them. John Hucker reportedly possesses over 12,000 of these photos today. Skeptics argue that the effects look suspiciously like double exposures or chemical manipulation. However, the speed at which the messages appear during live investigations has kept the case in the unexplained category for many paranormal enthusiasts. Dear David is one of the first and most famous examples of a social media haunting. It originated as a viral Twitter thread in 2017 by Adam Ellis, a cartoonist and illustrator for BuzzFeed. It's unique because it unfolded in real time over several months, with Ellis providing video, audio, and photographic evidence to millions of followers. The story began on August 7, 2017, when Ellis tweeted, "So my apartment is currently being haunted by the ghost of a dead child and he's trying to kill me." Ellis claimed the haunting started with sleep paralysis dreams of a boy with a misshapen, dented head. In the dream, a girl told him the boy was named Dear David and gave him specific rules. You can ask him 2 questions. You must start by saying Dear David. Never ask a third question. Ellis accidentally asked a third question in a dream. Following this error, he claimed the entity crossed over into the waking world to punish him. What made the story go viral was the proof that Ellis posted regularly. David allegedly sat in a small green rocking chair in Ellis's bedroom. He shared videos of his cats gathering at the front door every night at exactly midnight, staring at the empty hallway and crying. The most terrifying updates were photos Ellis claimed to take in the dark. One series appeared to show a child with a crushed skull climbing onto his bed while he was sleeping. Ellis later found a Japanese statue that looked exactly like the ghost he was seeing, which he believed was a bad omen. Due to Ellis's profession as an illustrator and the high quality of the ghost photos, many believe the entire saga was a scripted creative writing project or an alternate reality game. The story was adapted into a feature film, Dear David, released in 2023 by BuzzFeed Studios. It was critically panned, and with many fans feeling it failed to capture the subtle creeping dread of the original Twitter threads. Pretty hard to make a movie based on Twitter threads, I would think. The portrait of Bernardo de Galvez is a large oil painting located in the Grand Galvez, formerly the Hotel Galvez in Galveston, Texas. It's considered one of the most demanding haunted objects in the United States. While many haunted portraits are famous for their eyes following you, this one is unique because it reportedly has the power to ruin your technology if you don't show it proper respect. Bernardo de Galvez was a Spanish military leader and a hero of the American Revolutionary War. He's the namesake of both the city of Galveston and the hotel. Despite the city being named after him, Galvez never actually set foot on the island during his lifetime. He died of typhus at age 40. The portrait hangs at the end of the downstairs hallway in the hotel. It is an imposing image of Galvez in his military uniform. Visitors and staff have reported strange activity surrounding the painting for decades. The claims generally fall into 3 categories. The watching eyes is the most common report, that they follow people as they walk down the hallway. This is often an optical illusion in art. Guests claim the sensation is accompanied by an intense feeling of being judged or watched by a living presence. Frequently report feeling sudden intense cold spots while standing directly in front of the portrait, even when the rest of the hallway is warm. Some describe it as a heavy or electrical feeling in the air. The most famous aspect of the haunting is the specific rule regarding photography. Legend says if you want to take a clear picture of the portrait, you must verbally ask Bernardo for permission first. If you take a photo without asking, or if he denies your request, the photo will reportedly be ruined. Images will come out inexplicably out of focus. Photos may appear with strange streaks of light, dark shadows, or skeletal shapes superimposed over the face. Some guests report their phones freezing or shutting down completely when they try to snap a picture without asking. Staff members at the hotel are so accustomed to this that they often warn guests to ask nicely before taking a souvenir photo. I Can't Be a Bride Anymore by Yuko Tatsushima is a haunted piece of art that became the center of a viral internet urban legend. The painting is a piece of contemporary art, and its reputation on the internet is that of a cursed image capable of inducing madness. The artist, Yuko Tatsushima is a Japanese painter known for creating disturbing, visceral works that often feature dolls or doll-like female figures. Her art frequently explores themes of trauma, violence, and the loss of innocence. The painting depicts a pale, eerie female figure with empty or dark eyes, often appearing skeletal or puppet-like. The title, I Can't Be a Bride Anymore, implies the loss of purity or a future destroyed by trauma. The reality is the painting's probably not supernatural. It's just an expression of the artist's internal struggles. However, the fact that it's unsettling made it great fodder for internet ghost stories. The primary paranormal claim surrounding the painting is actually a case of mistaken identity with another legend. On the early internet, users began posting Tatsushima's painting alongside the text of a cursed poem called Tomina's Hell. You'll recall we covered this in a previous entry in this series. The legend of Tomina's Hell states that if you read the poem out loud, tragedy will befall you. Because Tatsushima's painting was often used as the visual thumbnail for the poem and for the videos and the internet posts, the curse of the poem transferred to the image. Users began claiming that staring at the painting for too long would cause madness and even thoughts of self-unaliving. The painting taps into the uncanny valley. The figure looks human enough to be recognized, but distorted enough to trigger a primal fear response. The psychological reaction, combined with the power of suggestion from the Tomina's Hell story, convinced many early internet users that they felt negative energy radiating from their computer screens when viewing it. The Armero curse is a tragic legend from Colombia that claims the 1985 destruction of the town Armero was not a natural disaster, but the fulfillment of a specific prophecy spoken by a murdered priest 37 years earlier. The curse dates back to April 10th, 1948, during a chaotic period of civil unrest in Colombia known as El Bogotazo. Tensions between political parties were at a breaking point. Father Pedro Maria Ramirez Ramos was the conservative priest of Armero, a town that was a stronghold for the opposing Liberal Party. A mob of rioters, fueled by political rage and rumors that the church was hiding weapons, stormed the church. They dragged Father Ramirez into the town square and brutally murdered him with machetes. Legend states that before he died, a curse was proclaimed over the town for murdering a man of God. The specific prophecy was, no stone shall be left upon another in this cursed town. 37 years later, on November 13th, 1985, the prophecy appeared to come true. The Nevado del Ruiz volcano erupted, melting its ice cap and sending a massive volcanic mud flow down the Lag River. The wall of mud struck Armero in the middle of the night, burying the town and killing over 23,000 of its 29,000 inhabitants. The mudflow was so total that it effectively erased the downtown from the map, leaving only ruins and the top of the church bell tower visible. Two specific details about the disaster reinforced the belief in the supernatural nature of the event. While the entire town was swallowed by the mud, the local cemetery where Father Ramirez was buried was one of the few places left untouched. The mud flowed around it, leaving his grave visible while the descendants of the mob were buried. In a cruel twist, the priest serving in 1985 unknowingly sealed the town's fate. When ash began falling earlier in the day, he reassured the parish over the radio that there was no danger and told them to stay in their homes to avoid the ash. The advice kept thousands of people indoors and asleep when the mud hit. The tragedy is most famously remembered through the image of Omayra Sánchez, a 13-year-old girl who was trapped in the mud for 60 hours. She died of gangrene and hypothermia while rescue workers and cameras watched, unable to free her. While she was not part of the curse itself, her grave in the ruins of Armero became a pilgrimage site. Locals leave her toys and water, believing her spirit still guards the ghost city. The Black Princess Ruby is one of the most famous jewels in the British Crown Jewels, and it's currently sitting front and center in the Imperial State Crown, the one worn by the King for the opening of Parliament. The stone is defined by a bloody history of murder and a secret identity. Ooh. The first dark twist about the stone is that it is a lie. It is not a ruby. It's actually a massive, uncut, 170-carat red spinel. For centuries, people couldn't tell the difference between rubies and spinels. The stone's reputation for being cursed comes from how it was originally acquired in the 14th century. The stone originally belonged to Abu Sa'id, the Moorish prince of Granada. He traveled to surrender to Don Pedro the Cruel, the king of Castile. Instead of accepting the peace offering, Don Pedro had the prince's servants killed and personally stabbed the prince to death. Don Pedro found the massive red gem on the prince's fresh corpse and took it as a trophy. Legends say the curse of the Sultan followed the stone. Don Pedro was killed by his own brother shortly after acquiring it. Before he died, he gave the stone to Edward, the Black Prince, son of English King Edward III, as payment for military help. The Black Prince brought it to England, but died of a mysterious wasting disease, likely dysentery, before he could ever become king. Unlike most jewels that stay in vaults, this stone was worn into combat on the helmets of kings, meaning it has witnessed death from inches away. The stone has survived multiple attempts to destroy it. It survived a massive fire in the Tower of London in 1841. When Oliver Cromwell executed Charles I and melted the crown jewels to sell the gold, the Black Princess ruby was sold to a private buyer for just £15. It was quietly bought back by the monarchy years later when the throne was restored. Zach Bagans' marionettes typically refer to a specific pair of artifacts known as the evil puppet twins, which are displayed in Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. They are They're a pair of 1800s wooden marionettes with glass eyes. They were acquired from the Carmel Dolls shop in Pacific Grove, California. The owner of the doll shop contacted Bagans to have them removed because they were causing disturbing events in the shop. While the specific details of the shop are often kept vague, citing general poltergeist activity like movement or strange noises, the owner felt that they were too dangerous to keep around other dolls or customers. The marionettes are believed to be a package deal, meaning they function as a single unit of energy. These specific marionettes were the direct inspiration for the scripted anthology series The Haunted Museum, which was produced by Zach Bagans and Eli Roth, and Season 2, Episode 4, The Evil Puppet Twins. The story is dramatized to show the puppets possessing a young man's soul and forcing him to commit evil acts. While this is fiction, Bagans claims it's based on the dark energy he sensed from the real objects. Dead Man's Curve in Clermont County, Ohio is a notoriously dangerous intersection with a specific haunting legend attached to it. It's located at the intersection of State Route 222 and State Route 125 near the village of Bantam. While many places in the U.S. have the nickname of Dead Man's Curve, this specific curve is famous for a faceless hitchhiker who is said to be the result from a tragic 1969 accident. The legend is rooted in a specific horrible accident that occurred in October 1967. A Chevy Impala carrying 6 teenagers was struck by a Plymouth Roadrunner. The Roadrunner was allegedly traveling at over 100 miles per hour. 5 of the teenagers in the Impala were killed instantly. Only one survivor, a boy named Rick, lived to tell the tale. Rick reportedly returned to the site later in life and claimed to see the spirits of his friends as well as the entity that now haunts the road. The faceless hitchhiker is the primary figure seen at this location. Unlike typical vanishing hitchhiker legends, this entity is described as three-dimensional but distinctly wrong. Witnesses describe him as a solid, dark silhouette of a man. When drivers slow down or get close enough to see his features, they report that he has no face, just a smooth surface or a void of blackness where his features should be. Sightings are most common between 1:20 a.m. and 1:40 a.m., often believed to be the time the original accident occurred. He's often seen standing on the side of the road or walking in the middle of the street, forcing drivers to swerve. What makes this location particularly feared is that the activity is often violent or aggressive towards drivers. In addition to the hitchhiker, drivers have reported seeing a phantom green Plymouth Roadrunner, which is the car that caused the crash, speeding through the intersection or chasing them down the dark road before vanishing. There are numerous reports of drivers having rocks or gravel thrown at their cars from the darkness, even when no one else is around. Some witnesses claim that after passing the hitchhiker, they see him running after their car in their rearview mirror at impossible speeds. The Doll of Fire is a haunted artifact that's infamous for its ability to start fires. Although it's less famous than Annabelle or Robert the Doll, it has gained a reputation in the paranormal community as one of the dangerous dolls that possesses a physical threat rather than just a psychological one. According to the legend, the previous owners claimed that wherever the doll was placed, small fires would inexplicably start nearby, curtains catching fire, paper smoldering, or scorch marks appearing on furniture. Dancing Sun of Agoo, Philippines. Judil Nieva and the Dancing Sun of Agoo refers to one of the most sensational religious events and hoaxes in Philippine history. Nieva claimed to be receiving messages and visions from the Virgin Mary, who we refer to as the Virgin of the Weeping Rock. It would go into trances and dictate messages that prophesized disasters or calls for prayer. The hysteria culminated on March 6, 1993, the date Nieva claimed the Virgin Mary would appear publicly and perform a miracle. An estimated 1 million people, including politicians, bishops, and celebrities, descended on Apparition Hill in Agoo. At noon, the crowd looked up. Thousands claimed to see the sun dancing, spinning, changing colors, or pulsing in the sky. Others reported seeing strange silhouette figures in the sky. The Catholic Church formed a commission to investigate the event, led by the Episcopal Commission of the Archdiocese of San Fernando. In 1993, they released a verdict. It is established that there is nothing supernatural. The investigation revealed several disturbing details. Experts concluded that this was mass hysteria combined with people who stared at the sun too long. When you stare at the sun too long, the retina is damaged, causing the image to appear to pulse, spin, or change colors. Hundreds of people reportedly suffered permanent eye damage from the event. Here, the story takes a strange turn. Some ufologists and paranormal researchers have suggested the dancing sun and the light seen by the crowd were not divine, but rather a UFO event that was misinterpreted by the religious crowd. They pointed to the fact that the spinning sun behavior is often reported in UFO sightings, not just religious ones. The haunted Elsa doll of Houston is a viral paranormal story that took over social media in early 2020. Unlike many legends that are decades old, this one played out in real time on Facebook. The story involves a standard Disney frozen Elsa doll owned by the Madonia family in Houston, Texas, that simply refused to be thrown away. The doll was originally a gift for the family's daughter in 2013. For years, it worked normally. You pushed a button and it sang, "Let it go." In 2015, the doll began acting up. It would randomly start singing in Spanish, even though it had only sung in English before. The family turned the doll off, but it continued to sing and speak. They eventually removed the batteries, but the doll still continued to sing and speak without any power source. Deciding the doll was too creepy to keep, the mother, Emily Madonia, decided to get rid of it. And this is when the activity escalated from a glitch to a haunting. The family threw the doll in the kitchen trash. Shortly after, they found the doll sitting on a bench inside their living room. Determined to be rid of the doll, they double-bagged the doll in heavy-duty garbage bags, placed it in the outdoor bin, and watched the sanitation workers collect it and haul it away. The family went on vacation, and when they returned home, they found the doll in their backyard leaning against the side of the house. To ensure she wasn't being pranked by her husband or a neighbor buying a replacement doll, Emily checked the doll's feet. Her daughter had previously colored on the doll with markers. The doll in the backyard had the exact same marker stains. It was the same doll. Terrified, the family decided that distance was the only solution. They packaged the doll up without a return address and mailed it to a friend, Chris Hogan, who lived in Minnesota. The doll successfully arrived in Minnesota. Hogan, taking no chances, taped the doll to the brush guard of his Jeep to keep it secured. As far as we know, the doll has remained in Minnesota and has not returned to Houston ever since. It's decided that it wants to live in Minnesota. The story went viral because Emily Madonia documented the entire process on Facebook with photos and updates. Skeptics argued it was an elaborate hoax or a prank. The family insisted that they were genuinely terrified and just wanted the object gone. And that is Tier 5 of The Ultimate Paranormal Iceberg by ManofNope. Thanks, ManofNope. Please make sure that you like, share, comment on, and hit the hype button for this video. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. My username is TheSpookyLawyer. If there is a spooky or disturbing story you would like me to cover, leave a comment and tell me about it, or send me an email. My email address is thespookylawyer@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a link in the description of this video and in my bio section to buy me a coffee, so you can buy me a coffee. Or you can become a member of this channel. For $1.99, you can get access to exclusive videos and access to my videos before they go public. I appreciate you considering this. You also support me by continuing to like, share, and watch my videos. And I do appreciate that you watch my videos. And please stay spooky.